Hi everybody. As you know, one of the biggest games in my lifetime is Warhammer Quest, one of my favorite games of all time. And, well, Silver Tower's here. But, how does it compare to everything? Or, more importantly, how does it compare to the Holy Grail game that is Warhammer Quest? Well, why don't we take a look at these two fantastic games. And I'm calling it fantastic because it has Warhammer Quest on it, but is it fantastic? I don't know. I know this one is, but let's do a little comparison, and then you can make a decision if you really want to go out and invest $150 into Warhammer Quest Silver Tower. So let's go down to the table and let's take a look at it. So here's the original game, and let's take a look at it and just kind of remind ourselves of everything that would go on with this. It came with an adventure book, and it came with a good amount of characters. Now the original, like this adventure book was fantastic because you would have different types of campaign things that you would do and special rules for everything. So it did have that role-playing aspect of it, and each tile had some kind of special rules to it, so it made it a very, very deep game. The Tomb Chamber, all the special rules for it, Fountains of Lost Souls, Rod of Nurgle. I mean, it just went on, and it was a very, very deep game, as well as, just having that wonderful role-playing aspect to it. And as you can tell right here, you could add different cards, and on the back it had a chart on how everything was done, which you used basically, as you can see here, the very old where everything was judged off a weapon skill. So for instance, if a defender's weapon skill was a 4 and the attacker's weapon skill was a 6, you would follow the chart down and you would need 3 or better to wound that person. And you had, of course, all the charts that came with it. I mean, it just, and if we look at over on this side here, you can look, it came with orc warriors, orc archers, goblins, snotlings, skaven, minotaurs, bats, spiders, and all that. And of course, you had your weapon skills here, the number of dice, and strength for different type of weapons, and attack and toughness. All those things that the old Warhammer system used, you would actually use into this fantastic system, along with a great play sheet. Now the rule book was very, very easy to understand. It was broken down. It came with a get started guide, which kind of showed you how to play everything. And as you see, it had the nice arches that you bind everything together. And you walked your way through your hero cards, and then of course your goblin cards, because you would draw your enemies by randomness, and you never knew what you were going to face in the next room coming up. And here's some more cards and stuff like that they had that you can copy, and so forth and so on. And of course our rule book, which was very easy to understand and go through. And all the models came together. They were already together, and they were easy to paint. Yeah, they looked a lot more simplistic, and unfortunately I have those packed away in another box someplace. Unfortunately I'm not going to be able to show you the old ones. But they were just very simplistic. They came all together. So the minute you got them, you got the game, you were able to play it out of the box. And I think that's where you have to bridge the gap with this game, is that with today's board gamer, you need to bridge the gap by not making something that comes in 500 pieces and 75 sprues, like I'm going through putting together the Silver Tower here. But something that somebody with minimal experience can put together very quickly and get it to the table, because that's the most important, is to get them sucked in by putting it on the table quickly. So as you can see, the old one just would use the strength, the toughness, Strength shows how strong a warrior is. The stronger the individual is, the more powerful his blows are, and more likely he is to wound his opponents. And toughness is how much you can take wounds. Initiative was important. Attacks, especially when you were surrounded by things. So, very, very much a role-playing type game. Broke everything down into phases, the monster phases, and was very easy to understand. But I mean, the real meat of this game came with the role-playing book. Excuse me. That came with the game. Because you were able to, after your adventure, kind of like in Shadows of Brimstone, you were able to do something that once you finished the mission, that you were able to go back to town, try to find your ways back, and it had different types of tables where you can improve, have warrior development here. You were able to go visit towns. There were dungeon treasure rooms where you would find different types of things, and then you would go back and collect your gold and spend it to improve your characters. And then, not only that, but the beastery here, you were able to take any models that were made in the Warhammer line and be able to take and copy these blank cards, which I will show you very quickly if you wanted to. Oops, wrong. That's the rule book. Sorry. But in the adventure book here, if you took, and they came with blank cards as well, but you could take these cards and you can make different types of events, or you can add different types of monsters. So if you had the models, they had all the stats in this adventure book. So it had so much replayability that it was ridiculous. And you could the things that you could do with this were just unbelievable. They had different types of, here's all the charts for level 1 monsters and level 2 monsters, level 4 monsters, level 3, all the way up to, where did it go all the way up to? I think it went up to 8 or 10, level 6, level 7, 10, yeah, 10, up to level 10. Which were just hideous, which you were fighting Senators and Master Sorcerers and Necromancers, Lich Kings, Great Unclean One. These were all the gods, and when you killed them, they were worth 8,000 gold, where you can go and buy. Good luck trying to kill them, of course. And all the abilities that they had. These charts were just unbelievable, and they added so much to this game. This book here was worth its weight in gold if you can get your hands on it. And the tiles, I mean, after all these years, I mean, this is a 25-year-old game, and the thickness of these tiles and how they hold up, I mean, they still have the shine on them that you can see. I mean, just absolutely, kept pristine and played with very hard but very durable cardboard. So you got your money's worth. And that was one of my biggest fears, doorways. And then of course you had your dungeon cards, where this was like a key thing, that you would have all the tiles here. And here's your treasure cards. You would just, once you beat something, you may find some treasure, like a healing salve or a talent of death, which helped the adventurer, and it was worth a certain amount of gold. So when you went back to town, you could bring it back. And your dungeon deck, which had all the pieces that it had, and this had more than 13 pieces that come with the other thing. But you can take in, you didn't even need a dungeon master. You could just see what happens in the dungeon by itself by turning that over. Monster's Lair. Okay, well, you move up there, and then you would draw maybe a monster card, which we had plenty of over here. That's all the treasure cards. And then, of course, you have your monster cards. And they gave you blank cards, tons of cards for events, for monsters. So you can add all those, if you had a certain army, you can add them in. I mean, just everything that you needed. And then of course the cards you could play just randomly. An event card, okay, something's in there, yeah, well there's 6 orcs in there, so you know, and you would have to deal with them. Yeah, look at those old orcs, those are old orcs, and all their stats and everything, so you would deal with that, and as you killed them it gave them a gold value. So there was such replayability, and it was a very, very deep game, and a beautiful game. I mean, this thing, you know, it didn't come with a lot of tiles, and then when you added the expansions that they came out with, and they came out with 2 of them, it really just added to this wonderful game. I still have the original sheets. We used to just take one and copy it because we just never wanted to ruin the sheets. You can see the top one's yellowed because we just wouldn't tear them off. And it was simple as that. And then they came out with 3 other cards for that. I mean, just here there's 3, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 tiles, okay? And you come with 13 tiles in this new set, so you know, it's really kind of disappointing because you thought there would be more to it. But you know, the whole thing with Warhammer Quest, you want to call it Warhammer Quest, then you better come close to it. So let's take a look at the new set and see what comes in there and see if it's even close. Okay, so let's just start very simply. The models are superior. Superior to the old in every single way. I mean, these are just gorgeous miniatures, and this is what Games Workshop is known for. They're superior, second to none as far as I'm concerned. But that's, you know, my thoughts. I think they're the best miniature company in the world, and they deserve to be called that because of the detail and the time that they put into it. Okay, every one of their games, I've yet to see a miniature that you go, wow, that is not Games Workshop quality. They call it Games Workshop quality because it is Games Workshop quality. So the models, let's not even go there. The pain in the neck, I think, for people that don't know enough about this universe or just getting into board games, is there is a big curve in having to put stuff together here. I mean, they give you a wonderful manual, but some of these are a little hard. You know, I can tell you right off the bat, if you watched any of my videos so far, that, you know, a couple of these guys, this dwarf, he took forever because there, you know, you start off with just a couple of pieces, and then you got to slowly build him up. So if that's not your thing, building models, which is a hobby into itself, which is part of the fun, for some, this is not going to be for you. Now, this one comes with a guidebook, of course, and it's beautifully colored, and you know, it gives you everything that you need. But here's a couple of things that I noticed, and I think I'll point them out on the card, is that this is not a very deep game. This is very much, it almost feels to some degree, and let me just back this out a little bit so we can keep everything into perspective here, is it does feel kind of like Age of Sigmar, okay, where it is dulled down a little bit. It's kind of like, I would say, a Legend of Driz or a Wrath of Ashalon. You know, this adventure book, you know, you can't even look at it because it kind of plays like above and below, you know, where you're not supposed to look ahead because there's certain things that will tell you, and that can change things a little bit. Another aspect that I was kind of shocked over is that pretty much there's a lot of dice rolling here, in the fact that these cards here for these heroes, these 4 spots, you roll and assign almost kind of like a claustrophobia in a way, where you have to assign the dice. So if you get all ones, that's not going to really do you very good for that particular round. So it's going to be a pain. The other thing is that each player becomes the dungeon master. So you will get this card and you would have to control the monsters, and then you would pass it to the left, and then the next person would do it in the next round. So that is where it's, you know, again, is a little squirrely. Where, you know, the other game you can at least have You can have somebody just be the dungeon master himself. There's only 13 tiles, both double-sided, but again, top, the best quality that you're ever going to have in your life is Games Workshop games. And the cards are beautiful as well. Here's some of the these are treasure cards and some destiny cards, I believe. And then, just like the old game, where you can have some randomness here. Here's with each one, and this is where you get that Warhammer Quest feel a bit. But in a way, it's kind of not Warhammer Quest. It doesn't have the deep value that the other one does. Now, if they add more stuff into it, do we just stop with Silver Tower and just make that's it? Which I hope not. I hope that they keep going with this because it has a lot of potential. Do I like the assigning the dice? No, I really don't. But I think we're going to give it a try and see how it all works out and see if it does work out. And does it have value? I mean, where the old game had a very deep and enriched role-playing element, where it's a game that would constantly, you could play 1,000 times and never play the same game twice, or go into town and things like in Shadows of Brimstone, which basically they took that was from Warhammer Quest, because it was such a fantastic element. That role-playing book really made the game. And then the availability that you can use any model that you want. Now, from what I hear, the app is supposed to help you use some as heroes, but I like to see the app develop where you can have villains as well, different types of villains, and pull them into this Silver Tower. I would also like to see it where the game develops into more of a role-playing game, and it has and lives up to his name. I would be perfectly happy, like I said, I would be perfectly happy if you just called the Silver Tower. But the minute you put that Warhammer Quest moniker on it, there has certain expectations to the old game. So, am I on the fence with this? A little bit. I think we're going to learn a lot in our playthrough that we're going to do. We're going to do a live playthrough. And, please, in the comments below, share your experiences and what you feel and what you like and what you don't like. I'm not I'm not disappointed with this at all. I think I really want to delve even farther into it. I mean, gaining skills, you can gain some skills, but they don't stay with you until the next adventure the way it would with the old one. I wanted to have that deep role-playing feel. I want to become immersed in the game, and that's what Warhammer Quest was about. This game does not have that just yet, but do I feel that they have the potential to do so? Are they headed in the right direction? Absolutely. I think they just got to make things a little easier for the non-modeling wargamer, and just give us some miniatures that, maybe you only have to put 3 pieces together instead of 5 or 6 pieces. It doesn't bother me, but I know that people that really see this game and want to get involved in this game won't do it, because they have to paint, put the miniatures together and then paint them on top of it. If the miniatures came, they could probably tolerate painting, believe it or not. So it's not Games Workshop fault, because they're not trying to cater to the board gamer, okay? But they have a fantastic history, a fantastic product. They have the best models known to mankind. Something, meet in the middle. Give the people what they want, meet in the middle. And when you want to talk about historic games, kind of meet in the middle and give everybody what they want, and you'll find that you're going to be very, very successful. And that's what I have to say so far. Let's go up top and get my final thoughts on this comparison of the two games. So, am I disappointed? A little bit. The new mechanisms, the new changes that were made, I'm really on the fence. Models are beautiful, but and the components are just absolutely stunning. But let's be honest. Is that everything? Is that what makes the meat of a game? It's a game that makes the game and the gameplay. And if you can suck somebody in with it, that's the most thing. If you could feel that you're a part of that role playing, I don't get that feeling with Silver Tower that I did with Warhammer Quest, and Warhammer Quest is one of my all-time favorite games. Do I want this game to succeed? Absolutely. Do I think if they add some expansions to it and some other things to it, and maybe add that role-playing book the way we had it in the old one, or maybe add some more expansions so it grows and it changes and it becomes something else, or maybe like Descent have expansions every couple of months. That I think would be very important because you will be adding more of a role-playing aspect into it. But right now it's just not there with it, and to call it Warhammer Quest, it's not Warhammer Quest. I think I would have felt better if you just called it Silver Tower, and it wouldn't have as high expectations of that as I have for it by calling it Warhammer Quest. Listen, I get it. I understand it. Am I totally disappointed? No. We're going to do a live playthrough of it and really give it a good look. So I really want to kind of, before I put the dagger in it, really give it every opportunity that I can. And even if I don't like it, still give it an opportunity to see what they do with it. Do they just leave it the way it is? Or do they keep developing it? Because they have a chance to really keep on developing this. So those are my opinions. The old game is still the old game and still the best. And nothing's going to change that right this moment. But the future is bright. They are trying, and I have to give them tons of credit for even attempting to bring this back and to a new generation that hopefully it'll grab onto, and that they'll have the memories that I have with Warhammer Quest. So that's it for now. Until next time, I'm Rob Orn, and we'll see you soon.